They weren't in my
Never know. You know what I'm saying? You got one top 10. Maybe.
So the guy's doing a really good job.
an eye in the way.
That was the intro for Unpopular Review. Hey guys, you are watching Unpopular Review and the Big Pop Theory podcast. This is a joint production, and we are here to talk about Sonic the Hedgehog 3. This movie just came out over the weekend. It came out a little bit earlier in the week. Gotta go fast. I'm excited to talk about this movie. As you guys can tell, I have the Christmas sweater. Please stop. And I also have this cup. This is great. Bad Guy Jack, I was laughing and crying at the same time. I'm assuming that you saw Sonic 3. I know the three of us saw Sonic 3. I'm one of your hosts, the Great Grand Slam Poobah. I'm joined with my panel. I said, UPR, if I'm going to do this, I'm going to pick my team. I'm going to pick my team. This is how it's going to do. This is how we do it. And Montel Jordan said that in 1995. I'm doing it in 2024. I'm with Crazy Joe, Apathy, and Mark Wins. Gentlemen, how the heck are you guys?
Wonderful.
Team Ron, right?
Yeah.
You know what? 10 out of 10. Not going to argue with it at all. No disagreement.
Yeah.
I like that, Team Ron. How are you, Mr. Wins?
I'm pretty good. I'm excited to talk about this movie too because I have thoughts.
Oh God!
Oh God!
You know, I say "oh God" because if I could pull back the curtain a little bit, that is exactly what you said yesterday. And you said this review show is going to be fun, and I know it's going to be fun. I know some of your thoughts. I feel like you kept some stuff to the chest just for this review, and that's great. And I'm excited to talk about it with you guys. I do want to highlight this again. George, who is a Sonic the Hedgehog fan, he said, and Bad Guy Jack, guess what? The director, Jeff Fowler, it's Fowler, right? I hope I'm saying his name right. Said that he's going to make the Sonic the Hedgehog 4 movie in 2027. Yes, and I'm looking forward to that. I mean, if you watch the movie, you already know that they were going to continue this universe. So, real quick, let's start off with this. Why don't we start off with some softball questions there? I'm going to start with you, Mark Wins. And then you gentlemen can take after. We'll go with Apathy and then you, Crazy Joe. When this movie was announced, what was your hype level for this movie before watching it?
Before watching it, my hype level was actually pretty high. It was up there because I really enjoyed Sonic 2. We knew Sonic 3 was coming out. We knew Shadow was going to be there. And because I'm a Sonic fan and I played Sonic Adventure 2, I know the story, so it was going to be real interesting to see how they would adapt the Sonic Adventure 2 story in the live action setting. So I was pretty hype actually, but yeah, before I saw the movie, it's pretty hype.
What about you, Apathy? What was your hype level for this?
Hype level, I'll say was about definitely a lot warmer than the previous movie, when the first movie was announced and had whatever expectations that was there. But as far as for the third one, yeah, I was pretty hyped to just wait and see how they incorporate Shadow, the story they'll do for Shadow. And I'm just here, I was kind of there for the ride because I'm not gonna go on and say that I am one of the biggest Sonic fans. I'm not really. I've just played the games. I know about it, but any in-depth lore, things like that, that's where you guys come in. But I'm just here for the movie because it done it right and is kind of breaking thresholds. So, yeah.
All right, Mr. Joe.
Me, when before the movie came out, yeah, I was hyped. I was hyped for the movie, to come out. I seen the trailers and stuff. I was like, all right, I'm ready for this. So, other than that, let's just get to the cream of the pot here. Go ahead, Bad Guy.
before we get to the cream of the crop, I want to talk about my hype level for this. I was super hyped about this. I do agree with what Mark once said here. About with Sonic 2, the movie was so well done, it made you go like, oh, Sonic 3 is just going to kill it. And I mean, I don't want to, I know we should save these things, but I really much enjoyed this movie. But I was very, very much hyped about this movie. And I think for me, it goes like, I remember playing Sonic Adventure 2 Battle as a kid, right? Or a teen, right? And you're like, oh, we're going to get a movie based off that. And you go, what? Sign me up. I'm there. I was going to be there so much that I was going to be there. I think I said this yesterday that if they kept Ugly Sonic, I think I would have watched the first movie. I can't promise I would have stayed for the next two. I can't promise that. But I do want to highlight one, George Samuel Lewis, the master of the Sweaterverse. George Lewis, he says, Shadow was my second favorite character. I'm not going to lie, this year, Shadow has moved up the ranks for me because he wasn't like one of my favorites. I remember my niece one time said, who's your second favorite Sonic character? And I said, oh, snap. I don't have one. I think I was leaning towards Eggman because I just love that. You know, Eggman is so inspiring. He fails and he fails, but he keeps going. And I love that. And I think that should be inspiring for everybody that's watching this, that you can fail, but one day you can succeed. Like the Itsy Bitsy Spider. Yep. Especially the end credit that made me hype. We're going to get there, George. Don't jump right into that completely yet, please, sir. That's why Sonic the Hedgehog 3 is number one. Over to Mufasa, the deadbeat father. Yeah. As he should be. Good job. Good job, Sonic. We don't support that kind of behavior. Mufasa, who slept through the entire movie. I like when they put live and learn in the movie. I thought that was a great touch. We're going to talk about that. But real quick, I think it's important. We're already 6 minutes into this review. I think it's very, very important to throw this out here real quick. I'm sorry. Let me just make sure that I have this out here because we're going to talk about spoilers. So if you did not see this movie, we appreciate you being here. Hit that like, hit that subscribe, hit that notification, and come back to watching it. And see if you agree with our thoughts and have a conversation with it. But because we're going to get into spoilers, I think it's important to hit this. All right, so I think it's important to throw that out there because I know a lot of people do not want to be spoiled, and I wanted to make sure that we threw that out there. So, I mean, this conversation is just a conversation, and it's just free flow in here. It's not even a whole lot of questions here, but I'm going to start with you, Crazy Joe, because you're right next to me on the side here. What was your favorite part of this movie?
Let's see. I love the part when basically Shadow and Sonic like met, and then they had like a little dialogue back and forth, and then like there's other parts in the movie where like basically Shadow would just do his little action thing, kicking guards around and basically just do his talk, but there was like a missing piece of Shadow whenever that he do his move, he didn't actually say it. So, but other than that, but my favorite part is just like basically when Shadow and Sonic just go at it. But I wish that it was longer, but hey.
What about you, Apathy? What do you got for me, sir?
I would say my favorite part, and it might go against what Mark would probably say, and which I wanted to bring up, actually, bold of you to assume that there would be two more parts of the movies if they kept Ugly Sonic, but
we can actually save that for a thing at the end, because I didn't want to actually have that in this review talking about Ugly Sonic, but please carry on.
Yeah, so my favorite part, I guess, one of them, but one that stuck out to me was Robotnik and his grandfather meeting up, I guess, for the first time, and interaction on screen was just too much. Too like it was almost breaking meta and stuff, and it was just always funny. Like Even a certain parts or two that was almost unnecessary, but was still funny. So
Sure.
yeah.
Mr. Wins, sir, what do you have for us? Say, which is your favorite part? Yeah.
My favorite part of the movie had to have been the beginning of the movie. So like Shadow pulls up, he breaks out of his stasis thing, his stasis capsule, deals with those guards. We in Japan. They got the rain going on. That was a purposeful nod to John Wick 3. And then Gunner's like, was it 3 or 4? Whatever. It was a nod to the John Wick movie, the most recent one where John Wick is. Anyway, that's a whole different review, right? But he's out there, and then Gunner's like, "Yo, we just got our ass kicked. We need our aliens because this alien is messing us up." So Sonic, Tails, and Knuckles, they teamed up. They're ready to go. They had the nice little city escape nod in the helicopter. They get down there and they get absolutely destroyed by Shadow. And Shadow is just in, I don't want to say rare form, but he's in rare form, just absolutely taking the team down effortlessly. It is. I thought it was the best part of the movie. It was my favorite part of the movie. It was great. That was it. It set the tone for what Shadow is here for and what time it is. It had, I don't want to say Thanos vibes, but it was. I got that feeling just a tad, just a little bit when comparing it to when Thanos first pulled up in Infinity War. Got that smidge.
I can see what you mean by that. That's small, not on the same grand stage of what Thanos did in Avengers Infinity War, right? But that small thing where you see him like he's wrecking. When Sonic say he can't take all three of us out, and he does it within seconds. It's incredible. I asked this question. I didn't even really actually have an answer for this. Like, what's your favorite spot? But spot here. But I think because I just watched this back actually. So one of the beauties is watching the movie early is that when I watch back, I could be like, oh, well, you can't spoil nothing for me because I already saw it. But I did like when Super Sonic and Super Shadow fought each other. I thought that was so cool. Even Shadow, even like taunting him, because like Sonic's characteristic is changing here, right? You have Sonic's character where he goes from the happy-go-lucky guy to now I want to kill everybody because you hurt my family. And when Shadow says, "Oh, what is his name? What, Tom?" And Sonic goes like, goes on full Will Smith on him. He says, "Keep my father's name out your mouth." And he decks him. And I remember someone wrote in the chat, and I thought it was so great. I love YouTube comments. And someone said, "Yo, no one in MCU have done that where they punch someone into the moon." And I think that's incredible. I think that's an incredible thing to say. Of all the MCU movies, and maybe I'm missing something. I would love for someone to correct me. If I'm wrong, please correct me. In all the MCU movies, no one's done that. Meanwhile, this anthropomorphic Hedgehog goes, "You have to die." I loved all of that. I thought that, yes. And George is saying it right here. He said Sonic took that to the heart. George, I gotta ask you real quick. I'm glad that you're in the chat. Shout out to George. We see you, my guy. You saw this movie, so cool. No, nothing bothering you because he's saying Sonic took that to the heart, so he knows. And right here, George, see, he's a jack package. See this? Okay. Sonic, Tails, and Knuckles got dominated. Dominated. Good job. Let me ask you guys this. It's all about conversation for the show here. I think Mark, when you mentioned, excuse me, Jim Carrey. One of you guys mentioned Jim Carrey. How did we guys feel about Jim Carrey taking the role of Gerald Robotnik? And I do just want to throw out here real quick here. Gerald Robotnik, he's a part of the Sonic lore. I give him Uncle Ben vibes, where we've heard of him, but he's been dead the entire series. Don't you agree that's a fair comparison, Mark Wins?
Only because he's been dead for the whole series, but other than that, it's not
the same. I get that with Uncle Ben. I'm talking about the dead part, not the where great power comes with. I mean, this man wanted everyone dead, so he's clearly not Uncle Ben. I totally get it. Where you're like, who are we talking about? Uncle Ben with an eye patch? What do you mean? I get you. How do we feel about Jim Carrey? I thought I'll take the floor here first. I thought Jim Carrey did a great job. I do want to get to Keanu Reeves and his performance in Shadow the Hedgehog, but I want to go with Jim Carrey here. Because I felt like this was a conversation that we were having yesterday about Jim Carrey and what he does. And Jim Carrey does Jim Carrey things. You know, he does the dance and all that stuff. How were you guys feeling about that? I'm going to start with you, Apathy, and then give it to you, Crazy Joe, and then Mark wins. We'll let you clean it up here. So, Apathy,
per se. Well,
how was we feeling about Jim Carrey's role as Gerald Robotnik?
No. Okay. Well, if they're going to try to replicate or show where Robotnik kind of gets everything about himself from, if not his father, whoever that may be, remain a mystery or whatever, grandfather, then it would have to be himself again to, you know, match up for that same energy, same eccentricness, wild, goofy kookiness that he does, you know, just almost all one-to-one for each other. Could anybody else have done the role? I wouldn't necessarily think so, unless they want to make, you know, Gerald, you know, personality a little different, but, you know, essentially the same mind. But no, it's like two of the same characters. They needed two characters. So, yeah, his performance, A1, always has been.
So I had no problem with Jim Carrey playing Dr. Robotnik, you know, and like other roles, you know, that pertain to him. The only thing that I felt like in that movie is that the dancing part. I feel like that like could have been a little different, you know, instead of him doing all that dancing, you know, so he could have just walked like elegantly through the laser, you know, just talking, you know, just pop shit. Be like, you know, look at these lasers, you know what I'm saying? Oh yeah, I am undetected, you know, just you know, that's just my opinion on it. But other than that, like yeah, I love the way that he played Dr. Robotnik, and I would love him to continue to play the role of it.
Ooh, that's gonna be a question for later, but go ahead, Mr. Mark wins.
So when they first showed Gerald in the trailer, that's when, you know, my hype level skyrocketed because I was like, wait a minute, he's alive? Because he was never alive in the game, never. But in this movie, he was alive, which was crazy because that did make him, I think they mentioned it, he was 110 years old. Like that made him pretty ancient. So I was hyped.
No disrespect, Jeff. I was gonna say no disrespect, Jeff.
But then, you know, I watched the movie, and the more I watched the movie, the more I'm like, did I watch this movie to see Gerald Robotnik, or did I watch the movie to see Shadow the Hedgehog? Because I personally feel like Gerald took up too much of Shadow's time. Like, I feel like okay, I understand they wanted to show the Gerald Ivo Robotnik dynamic. I get all of that. And then, you know, he does the dance in the amongst the lasers. Apparently, I looked that up. Apparently, that was a callback to some other movie. I forget what the movie was, but
this wasn't in the Sonic movie. This is like something else.
No. That dance that they did with the lasers, that was a callback to some other movie.
Kill Bill?
What it was.
Was it like Kill Bill?
No, I don't know. It's an older movie. I think it's like I don't remember what it was. If somebody can look it up real fast, they can. But that dance was absolutely 100% a callback.
Oh,
okay,
cool.
But even still, like I just feel like Gerald took up too much of Shadow's time. Like I feel like where Shadow could have been there, instead they had Gerald. And then like, okay, to be fair, was Jim Carrey good as Gerald? Yes. But me personally, I would have kept him dead. I just personally feel like they were I feel like in almost 80 to 90% of the scenes where Gerald was, that wasn't a flashback, you could have had Shadow there. Like, I feel like Gerald and I feel like the Shadow and Sonic fight, that fight scene was interrupted with Robotnik and with the two Robotniks. I felt like when they went to London to go and get the second key for the Eclipse cannon, we could have had Shadow there instead of Gerald Robotnik, and that would have been because then boom, then the higher stakes go crazy because now it's Gun and it's Robotnik and Shadow and it's Team Sonic. Gerald was actually kind of disappointing to me. I can't lie. Like, I get it, it's Jim Carrey, but I didn't come to Sonic 3 to see Gerald. I came to see Shadow the Hedgehog, and I felt like because Gerald was there, it took away from what Shadow could have done in the movie.
And that's fair. Those are fair points. I mean, this was something that you were saying yesterday after we watched the movie. I do want to highlight this one with George. He said, I was sure they were going to add the bio lizard in this movie. He was actually there. I felt like I was the only one out of all three of us that saw that. Because like I peeped him immediately. He was there. He wasn't the final boss. He was in the spot when they did the stuff about aliens and movies. I mean, you can watch it. I'm pretty sure you can find it on YouTube now. But they did have that little cameo there. And that's something that I did want to say real quick. One of the things I did like about this movie, it was an adaptation of Sonic Adventure 2, and it took liberties with this, but there were still things that they touched on. And I said this yesterday. I said, oh my God, like, it's such a throwaway line. I'll say it right here. It's such a throwaway line, but it meant the freaking world to me when you see Sonic on the plane with Gerald Rockwell, I believe her name is, and he goes, talk about low budget flight, no food or movie, I'm out of here. I sat here and said, everybody in that crowd had no idea what that meant.
That's a fact. That is
like,
an absolute fact. That for Sonic fans, for that line to have been said and it just went over everybody's head. It's like, that's interesting. That line definitely is like kind of famous, and it should have like got a reaction. Let me tell you that was only at the movie theater we were at. When I went on Tuesday, I want to give a shout out to one and Cat We Trust, Katrina. She invited me to go on Tuesday. Mm-hmm. I was among my people, and when they said that, I heard a guy. I think someone wet themselves. They were really excited, which is very gross. Never do that in a movie theater. But they got excited when they heard that line. So trust me, it depends on the movie theater. But when I was at that theater, I've seen people go, oh, they did it. Like they were really excited about it. And I do agree.
Exactly what the significance of that line is.
It's literally Sonic's first line in Sonic Adventure 2 Battle.
Yes. So he's in an airplane and he's framed for Shadow's crimes. And he escapes, and they're all like, what in the world? They're going to get him, and they're trying to get him. And it's funny, in the Dreamcast version is different from the GameCube. So the GameCube, you already have his soap shoes. But in the Dreamcast, he has his classic regular sneakers before the soap. I don't know. I think it just randomly transferred in that game. I know I watched some scenes of it. But he says it there, and it's just something, if you play that game enough or so many times, it's just like, you know how some people know Shakespeare and all these other catchphrases and all that stuff?
Yeah.
Sonic Adventure 2 is Shakespeare for me! Okay, here we go. I'm sorry. I didn't mean, I got so passionate. I love this conversation here. But we got George. I'm sorry. I just want to read it. Mm-hmm. Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead. No, go ahead, sir.
I was going to say, when they said that line, there was another line I was waiting for where Shadow is like, because one thing they did not call each other fake hedgehogs. I know I think Sonic called them impersonator at one point, but they didn't really go in on the fake hedgehog stuff. That was a little disappointing to me, but that's more of a nitpick than anything. Like
it's more of a nitpick, no, because I agree with that, because it would have been great. I found you, fake. I'm like, come on. Matter of fact, not for nothing, when I saw, and I'm gonna get to your comment real quick, George. Give me a second here, please. In the trailer, and you see Sonic and he's in the forest. I mean, I didn't know that was going to be the opening scene for the movie, right? But in my head, I'm thinking that's Green Forest. Like, I got bumped about that. George says, I like the scene where Shadow and Maria connected as friends. That was cute.
Too. I like it too.
Cute. Yeah, that was
Those
great.
those were really good scenes. Actually, I did enjoy
Yeah.
those scenes
Yeah.
where they like expanded upon Shadow and Maria's relationship. I
Yes.
did enjoy those scenes. I can sit there and say that.
George.
I still would have kept Gerald dead though.
There we go.
Oh no, George.
Well, you know, just like how Marvel would keep Uncle Ben dead. I get you.
Mm.
We got George Lewis who says, talk about low budget flight. No food or movie. I'm out of here. I like running better. He is a Sonic that George, I have to ask you, have you played Sonic Frontiers yet? Have you played? Some dropped. George is one of my people. He disrespects me on Tuesdays when I talk about JC Jane, but right now you are a part of the Jack Pack community, George. Good job. See you tomorrow on Tuesday as you disrespect me more. Sonic was a fugitive in Sonic Adventure 2. And he also says, remember Sonic X? It was saying, I love Sonic X. It was great. That was one of the things they didn't play. They played, I feel like everything Sonic media except Sonic X. I don't know why.
Sonic X.
And I think we were pretty
they low-key referenced it, with the phrase "gotta go fast," because even Shadow was like, "Oh, you got a catchphrase? Don't tell me you got a catchphrase." And what did Sonic say? Everybody loves it.
He's right. I have played Sonic Frontiers, and it's pretty good. All right, good job, George Lewis. George Lewis, please tell me your top 2 favorite Sonic 3D games. Let's have a conversation about Sonic. Now let's talk about Keanu Reeves. How do we, gentlemen, how do we feel about his performance here? I'm gonna start with you, Mark Wins. We'll give it to you, Apathy, and then Crazy Joe. You can clean up.
His performance was, how do I say, surprisingly good without being disrespectful to Keanu? Because
how about not completing your sentence?
Because no, but here it is, right? It's Keanu Reeves, so he's a great actor, yes. But he was able to capture the Shadow mannerisms. He wasn't just saying lines. He captured he authentically
his atmosphere, his vibe. I get you.
His vibe and his personality. You know what I'm saying? It sounded it almost sounded like he was trying out to, voice act for him in the games. That's how really good it was. I was very, very impressed with how good Keanu Reeves did at Shadow. Very impressed.
I'm sorry, that's you, Apathy. Take over.
Yeah, I would definitely 100% agree. It's almost a perfect choice, a perfect choice for picking Keanu, because if I were to imagine how Shadow, is supposed to sound in any way, even though we've already know how Shadow sounds through the games and any other media shows and whatnot, having a deeper voice, he's more serious, can be seen as, he has a tone that can be both bad guy and maybe even good guy, reluctantly anti-hero type. So Keanu Reeves, with his voice, and he naturally having a deeper voice and coming out the roles of John Wick, and if he channels his John Wick actings into it with Shadow, and being very melancholic with his backstory and showing that kind of emotion through it and acting for it, definitely a good choice with Keanu Reeves. When it was first revealed and showed on a media that he was casted for the role of Shadow, I was like, yeah, you know what? Yes, that's you needed someone like that. That's a grade A-lister actor. It'll get people buzzing, buy tickets, put people in the seats to watch, and Keanu Reeves, good.
I feel like Keanu Reeves did a good job. I have no problems with it. As long as he stay dedicated to his craft and to Shadow, then I don't have a problem with him playing as Shadow. As long as he continue to put the experience and put in the pain that he sees that Shadow has into it, then I feel like he could stay on as Shadow. You know what I'm saying? So that's just my thing with the whole thing. So shout out to Keanu Reeves. for doing a
Yeah,
wonderful job.
because Shadow's pain ain't over yet.
Mm-hmm.
I do want to sit here and say I hear what you gentlemen are saying, and I'm just going to throw out here. I didn't like it. I'm glad someone realized it was a joke because I actually thought his performance was great. You know what I like about Keanu Reeves? I think what Keanu Reeves did was he actually did a lot of like understanding the character and understanding his emotion, and even something that he said. Like there was a lot of times where I don't want to say I was going to cry, but I just felt for him. You know, like one spot where he's, and I guess this is the reference you was talking about where it might have been what's his movie? John Wick. He's walking in the rain. He's crossing the street. He's literally minding his business. And he's like, why won't you guys leave me alone? I don't understand. And I thought he captured something as simple as that. I thought he captured that very well. One way when he does run into Joe Robotnik and he says the pain is just too much. I mean, I thought he did a great. I do want to throw this out here. I think that this line is so great that I'm going to try to utilize it for the rest of my life. When someone asks me for guacamole, I'm gonna be like, "For venge guacamole." That was so good. Keanu Reeves was fantastic. I mean, and also a shout out to a lot of the other cast too, Ben and Colin and it was just, I mean, voicing Sonic, Tails, and Knuckles. They do a great job. And I also thought the humans. It was just he's fantastic.
This is great. But yeah, the Tails voice actor straight out of the games.
Yes. But I think she should totally get the still respect nonetheless. I mean, we're talking about these celebrities where a lot of people probably wouldn't know that, right, this is the voice actress of Tails. And I want to give another shout out to a friend of mine who watched the first 2 Sonic movies just to prep for this, April. And she thought Tails was actually a girl. I was like, no, the voice actor is a girl, but Tails is a boy. Tails is a boy. Now, I do want to wrap this up here. We went 31 minutes. I didn't realize we were going to go so much so far. So let's talk about the future of what's next, right? We have Sonic 4. They confirmed it, 2027. Once again, I want to throw this out here. This is spoilers. So if you don't want spoilers, but if you was with this whole time, we thank you. Let's talk about this first end credit, right? We get this first end credit.
Yeah.
Will you stop? What are you doing? We get at this end credit. We get Sonic. He dusts his Knuckles and Tails in a race. We get Metal Sonic, but we don't get one Metal Sonic. I don't even know what the number was. It was more than one. But then we also get Amy Rose. I saw something today. I'm going to ad-lib a little bit here. Some people feel like the next story that they're going to tell is Sonic Heroes. I don't personally see that. So I'm going to give the floor to you guys. I'm going to go start with you, Mark Wins. I mean, you... okay, Mark is thinking. Okay, I can see the steam coming upside the head, but go ahead.
It wouldn't be a 1-to-1 for Sonic Heroes, but the idea is so what they've done for the past couple movies now is, you know, they
combine
theoretically kill Robotnik, and it leaves Jim Carrey to, you know, whether he wants to reprise his role or not. Cool. Whether he reprises his role or not, in Sonic Heroes, it is Metal Sonic that literally is the antagonist of the game. Like, Robotnik had zero control over that situation whatsoever. Like, he had nothing in there, like nothing. So the idea that the Metal Sonics, there's a bunch of Metal Sonics because maybe there's like a head Metal Sonic or a Neo Metal Sonic that is controlling the Metal Sonics and is trying to take over the world, where, you know, Robotnik failed again and again and again.
Mm-hmm.
It's possible. I don't know. Like, you know, it might have been something.
Oh yeah, no doubt. But so I'm sorry. I'm going to pick your brain here a little bit because I know that Sonic Hero story as well. I know what you're talking about here, and you're absolutely right about Eggman not being. I mean, for God's sake, they just threw him in a closet. But I do want to ask you then, and I know this is asking a question here: where did these other Metal Sonics come from?
Probably the same place all the all the Sonic, I mean not Sonic, the Shadow androids came from at the end of Sonic Heroes.
Well, I mean, okay, cool,
Like,
great. That's a game, but I want to talk
Right.
about
So
the
who
movie.
made him? I think maybe Robotnik made this Metal Sonic at some point. You know what else they could do? Now that I'm thinking about it, they could do a because the rings are there, and you know with the rings, people come from different they come from different
Universe.
worlds. So
Yeah.
they might right. So
Dimensions,
they might do like an
dimensions.
alternate universe type of thing.
Yeah,
Like that's a
dimensions.
possibility too, which would be kind of cool if they do it right. Nice little multiverse type of thing. That's a possibility. But where did the Metal Sonics come from? Right now, the only thing I can think of is, I mean, I guess there's only two places. If it's not a multiversal thing, it came from Robotnik, something that Robotnik was working on and didn't finish, and he clearly didn't finish it because that one Metal Sonic got cleaned up in the trailer. It took the army to pull up, and I was like, oh, what's going on? Or Gunn had a Metal Sonic on deck, and yeah, and then
they
that
made
thing
prototypes.
after Gerald hacked it, and when Gerald hacked their system, that might have let a Metal Sonic get unleashed, and then maybe that Metal Sonic said, you know what, I'm going to clone myself, and then we get a Neo Metal Sonic thing because Sonic Heroes does make sense, and then we can sit there and be like, they can definitely bring Shadow back because Shadow's there. Whether or not Shadow's going to go into his own thing, or whether he'll be, I don't know. There's a lot. The world is endless. I don't want to sit here and take up too much time, but yeah, there's a lot of possibilities.
Crazy Joe, what do you got?
Yeah, I feel like I could feed off Mark with the I feel like at the end, like Amy came through, the Metal Sonics. I feel like like they probably going to have like they might go add like another character to the scene or like another storyline happening. And apparently Shadow probably it is going to come back probably because at the end with the ring and the dirt and stuff. So I feel like it's going to be like another character will be added besides Amy that's going to be there besides Metal Sonic. So I feel like it's like they cooking up something like a surprise, but they ain't like sharing much yet. But Sonic fans is gonna find out like one way or another.
Yeah, once they break down some of the things, I have some thoughts. But Apathy, your thoughts, sir?
On just the after credits, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, where it's possibly headed. I mean, originally, actually, I told you guys this like when the first trailer was revealed. I wanted to pretty much call it immediately that Shadow is going to be the antagonist of the movie at first, but then they might still do the whole same thing with it's versus like with Godzilla and King Kong, but then there'll be a third more menacing actual antagonist villain that they both have to work together and defeat and whatnot. And I thought that would be the Metal Sonic. And I figured that Metal Sonic would come from Gerald and Ivo working together, thinking they're gonna actually try and maybe stop Shadow because he was probably the problem, and Ivo saying if you can't rule it, he's probably gonna save it. So they make Metal Sonic to try and attempt to save it, but then Metal Sonic does his own thing and they can't control it, and now it's even more dangerous, so they all gotta help together and stuff like that. That's what was my thought. So but no, Metal Sonic reveal and then getting one-shotted by Amy, not sure I entirely feel about that. I mean, I don't know. I thought Metal Sonic was always supposed to be a problem, but that's Super Mario Brothers Z spoiling me. But yeah, that's my thoughts on it. I don't know. Maybe he's from the future. Future
I'm not sure where this Metal Sonic is coming from. I do like how they presented Amy and made her like a total badass. I mean, I also like that they and I just want to highlight George real quick. He said that he gives the Sonic 3 movie a solid 9.5. That's high grade ratings there. I also wanted to highlight because he is a big Sonic the Hedgehog fan. Um, I asked earlier what was his favorite Sonic games, and he says Sonic the Hedgehog 3, Sonic Adventure 2, Sonic the Black Knight. It was okay. It was better than the first. I forget what that first game was.
Secret Rings.
Oh, I hated that game. He liked Sonic the Hedgehog 06. Okay. That was a choice. Sonic Forces was also my favorite game. Okay.
So that is a choice. That is an opinion.
That is, and he's entitled to that. And that's the fun thing about that. So, all right. And George also asked, the question is, who will be voicing Amy Rose? I don't know a lot of voice actors to sit here and go. The only person I could think about is the girl, and she does I think her name is Tara Strong, and she does Harley Quinn, and I believe she did Tommy Pickles in the Rugrats. So that's the only
no, not Tommy Pickles. No, someone else. No.
You know who I'm talking about then?
Yeah, I know.
Oh, right, because that girl was like some Daly or something, like E.G.
E.G. Daly.
Yeah. Okay. But she did something. I forget what else she did. I think she did Bubbles or one of the Powerpuff Girls.
Bubbles,
I forget what it is.
Okay. Timmy Turner.
Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, and I'm only going by that. That's the only one I can think on top of my head of a voice actor. So I wouldn't have a problem with that. But I did like how Amy was presented. I even liked the little cloak that she had, and just came off like a total badass. And I think that also too, what Sega has been doing lately, especially with Amy, I look at Sonic Frontiers, I almost feel like it's a reboot of her character, where she goes from being obsessed with Sonic and always wanted to be underneath him to being like, yo, I can do stuff on my own, and I am. Are you serious?
I'm okay. Fine.
He said he's okay. He did it. He said the thing. He's okay. He sneezed and he said, guys, I'm all right. I can't speak on everybody else, but I am fine. How dare you sneeze as I'm in the middle? Like, are you serious? You sneeze in the middle of my speech? You held that in for one apathy and one Mr. Wins, but with me, you just lose it? Please. You are embarrassed. You are embarrassing yourself, and say it with me, boys. 5K HD.
Oh no, 5K.
Yes.
Yeah.
Amy was always obsessed with Sonic, but see, that's the thing. Her character has definitely changed throughout the years, especially in Frontiers. And even in the last few games, I feel like they just, maybe just Frontiers, they took away the hammer, so it was really cool to see her with that hammer again. And I always thought that was such a cool weapon for her. I didn't understand why to give her those, I forget what those cards are called.
Fortune cards or whatever, the tarot cards.
No. I'm going to give that a no out of 10. Please. Stop that.
I mean, yeah.
I'm sorry. The hammer. I'm sorry.
I was going to say that maybe she forgot to bring it because they were on vacation or something like that, going to the Starfall Island.
But she thought to bring the cards. Please.
Huh?
But she thought to bring the cards.
Yeah, because she's just chilling. She's just doing. We're gonna have a picnic, and we're gonna, I'm gonna play with my cards and tell fortunes. And it's gonna be a good time. She didn't think that she was going, turn into a cyber hologram. That's my.
And honestly, whose fault is that?
Robotnik's. He did that.
Okay, but like they know that Eggman is always going after them, but she forget. I'm sorry, no, there's no excuse.
That was the whole thing. I don't think they had, if I remember correctly.
You're not.
How did that thing begin? Because
I don't know, but we're gonna move on.
Cutscenes.
We're gonna move on just to move, and we'll save it for the after. Let's talk about Shadow real quick because I see George and he's talking about Ruth Barrett. Where are we going to see her in Sonic the Hedgehog 4? I think that I do want to sit here and say this. So I know they were teasing about Shadow the Hedgehog TV series. There's a possibility that it could be a movie, they were saying. I don't know for sure, but if it's a TV show, I could see it being where they do introduce Rouge and she's working for Gunn. And, we still have alive is Rockwell. Rockwell don't like any of these aliens. So I could see her being the problem for Shadow and a TV show. If it's not a movie, we get this little story Something happens. I feel like we get because I feel like you gotta have what's his name? Doom. I forget because I didn't play Shadow.
Yes,
Black Doom. There we go. I feel like we get that. Gunn is trying to get Shadow, but eventually they realize, oh, we gotta team up with Shadow to get Black Doom, and then somehow because at the end of the day in the games, Shadow ends up working for Gunn, and I think that's somehow. Go ahead.
Yeah, because like with Shadow with that game, what happened was.
Sure, please take the floor.
The Sonic Heroes where he's like, yo, am I even real?
Right.
And then you have the multiple endings or whatever. But even with all of those endings, I think like only one is canon. I forget exactly which one. But basically it's one of the good endings that's canon, where like what is it? It's not anyone where he's fighting Robotnik. It's where he's fighting Black Doom. And yeah, he's like kind of sort of working with Gunn. Because Gunn, he's like, yeah, he's going down his good path, and he's like working with Gunn because like you have this option to throughout the game, you have the option to kill Gunn soldiers or kill aliens. So you're killing the aliens, and then Gunn is like, all right, I guess he's on our side because he's not killing us. And yeah, that's essentially what happens. And when he beats Black Doom and he comes back, Gunn is like, all right, we're not gonna mess with you no more. Just be with us. And that's how that. Okay. And it especially worked because Rouge had mysteriously been working for Gunn the whole time. Technically, Rouge has been there since the beginning, but we just don't know it. So I don't know how they're gonna bring Rouge in for in the movie, right? In the movieverse, because when they first see Sonic, they act like they don't know what's going on.
And that was kind of weird to me. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you, but that was kind of weird to me because it's like they see Sonic and they're like, "We've never seen anything like this." But then they're like, "Oh yeah, yes," like so casually. So like, yeah, I get what you're saying.
Yeah, because you're gonna like, oh, but Shadow. But Shadow was there for 50 years. That didn't necessarily. That might have been some top secret joint that only a handful of people knew about. So I can understand where it's like, boom, they if you're part of Gunn and you don't know about Shadow, that you don't know about Sonic. But to not know about Sonic when Rouge is there the whole time, I don't really know where they go with that. Unless they do a multiverse thing where, you know, there is a Rouge and they pull her from a different verse. But I don't know. I don't know if Rouge is I don't know if Rouge is ever gonna be in these shows or anytime soon.
This movieverse, yeah. Well, you know, someone was mentioning, I just want to throw this out another thing that they were throwing out, the possibility of I know that you and Apathy would be excited. Knuckles series season 2, and they were talking about the possibility of bringing out the Chaotix. Now, nothing's confirmed about this stuff. I mean, Sonic's universe is so rich where there's a lot of characters and a lot of stories that could be told here. So I hear what you're saying about, how do we bring in Rouge? But I'm pretty sure they'll find a way because even something that I was reading, and they were talking about like they have big plans for Silver. So, I mean, I don't think this is all going to be in Sonic 4, but I'm just saying there's a bunch of characters I think that are lined up, just ready to be.
But they are still introducing these characters like one at a time, kind of, sort of.
Well, Team Chaotix, you couldn't do that one at a time.
You sure couldn't, but
no.
Like. They're introducing these characters very slowly because, like, all right, boom, we had Sonic 1 and it was just Sonic, and then at the end we see Tails, and then in Sonic 2, you know, we've got Tails and then Knuckles, and then they show and then at the end they show Shadow, and then in Sonic 3, all we get is Shadow. Although you can argue we also got Gerald because technically Gerald is a
he was right. He was a new character to the series.
Actually, you know what?
Uh-oh.
They are doing 2 characters at a time. Technically, so maybe we will get Rouge.
Possibly,
yeah.
I think if you're going down the route of doing the Sonic Adventure stuff, you have to include her. I just think so.
The only issue is, I know personally, I'd rather see Omega, but.
You know what this means, though? The more characters they introduce, the much more or less screen time the human characters are going to be getting.
I think a lot of people are not going to argue about that. And I'm not going to hold you, though. I thought in this movie, because Tom and Maddie are a big part of this universe, so it doesn't bother me when I see them. I'm trying to think of the other characters. I can't think of it, but her sister and I guess it's her husband now. I thought they were cool too. So I just want to throw that out there. But me and Mark took over a lot of this Sonic talk, but what do you guys think about like for the the future of Shadow?
The future of Shadow. Well, for me, the rumor that you brought up before with TV series is that I guess the actors Keanu Reeves and Idris Elba, they were interested in having a Shadow and Knuckles spinoff type series.
Cool.
And so whether that's going to happen or not, well, it'll be up to the studio, and then ultimately, if it makes sense. I mean, has Knuckles and Shadow ever had any type of screen time together in games or whatnot? I don't know, but I've never peeped.
There was one in Shadow the Hedgehog, and I'm pretty sure in the comics, definitely. But in Shadow the Hedgehog,
definitely in the comics, they definitely had a scuffle in Sonic X at one point, and in the games, there's a couple of levels where Knuckles teams up with Shadow. Yeah.
Matter of fact, even Knuckles, he throws in a random. Damn, where did that hurricane come from? I forget the actual quote, but you could tell that was forced. I said, Knuckles, you don't talk like that. But go ahead, Apathy.
Yeah, so Shadow is going to be there to stay, definitely, especially as long as Keanu is interested in playing the character, which I feel like he definitely is. He likes it. Shadow is there to stay. He'll be a fan favorite. He's not going anywhere. They clearly teased him in the after credits, so he's not going anywhere. And I also wanted to bring up a thought as well about Amy, though. As far as the direction they might be going with her, I do feel like they might go the route, perhaps, of maybe making her more the girl boss caricature, as opposed to the way I remember her being. The dynamic between her and Sonic being pretty much like Chowder and Panini, and she's just overly obsessed with him, and he's forever like, I'm not your boyfriend type shit. Which is the humor in there. I'm pretty sure they might sprinkle that in there for humor's sakes, to show maybe an infatuation she would have for Sonic, as she naturally would and should. But yeah, because of her entrance and one-shotting all those Metal Sonics, yeah. Yeah, that's the route. But
I'm all for girl boss Amy. I think I prefer girl boss Amy over infatuated Amy. Because like even when Amy was doing her, her infatuation thing, she still like had very small girl boss moments. Like, she definitely helped out in Sonic Adventure a little bit. Like, yo, I need to like do my part. And she talked Shadow into saving the world. What else did she do? She led Team Rose for whatever that meant. You know what I mean? And then she got her own little part in Shadow too. Like, so she has girl boss moments. So I do enjoy when Amy is doing more than just being infatuated over Sonic. I do enjoy that. So I'm for girl boss Rose. I'm with it.
Bring the girl boss Amy. Yep.
George is agreeing with you guys. Don't piss off Amy Rose. And I could see Jim Carrey bringing his role. So I guess that's the last thing. And we'll just wrap it up because we almost went an hour, boys. And shout out to you, gentlemen, for talking about Sonic 3 and what's the possibility of the future and everything. So I'm gonna end it with this. Do y'all think Robotnik is dead? I'm gonna start with you, Crazy Joe. Do you think he's dead?
No, I don't think he's dead.
Okay, all right. Apathy.
For the sake of how he went out, dramatically and emotionally, epically, and whatnot, he should be dead. He should stay dead. and especially more so even with Jim Carrey and his on and off again. Yeah, that's my last role. I'm retiring from acting. But wait, I love Sonic. I love the script. I'm gonna come back here and there. That's always up in the air. There's been we can come up with theories of how he could potentially come back, which I think would ruin his ending of how he went out. But my vote would be like he shouldn't come back. But I know he's a long time only antagonist for Sonic, right? So probably should come back for some story reasons. I don't know.
I'll take the floor and I'll let you end the show here. One Mr. Wins. Hey Jack. Yeah. Do you think Eggman is dead? No, I don't think so. You know why? Because Eggman just don't die. His hatred for Sonic the Hedgehog. He look right here. George said it best. Right here. Robotnik is coming back. Let me tell you something. Sonic 1. I'm going to talk about video games here. Let's talk about the history here, right? Sonic 1. That final, what was it called? The final stage, right, Mark? The last stage or whatever. I forget the actual name.
Final Zone. Yeah.
Final Zone. There we go. That creative. 1991 was full creativity.
Oh, sorry. I was thinking of the theme out loud.
Okay, no. Thank you. Okay, yeah, thank you. These gentlemen are just interrupting me. No, all seriousness. That first game, when Sonic hits him, I was like, okay, he can survive. Sonic 2, he should have been dead. And what was it? He has the final death egg robot, and the thing gets on fire. And you know what Eggman does in Sonic 3? He forms an alliance with an echidna because he hates Sonic so much. He should have been dead in Sonic 2. That if you want to talk about the original death, Sonic 2. I'm pretty sure you could even go. Matter of fact, I'm going to stick with Sonic 2. It was the stage. I think it was Hilltop Zone where there's a lava thing and Sonic hits the thing. And fire can go into the machine.
Yeah. Hilltop. Yep, Hilltop Zone.
Sonic 3. You want to excuse all that and be like, no, come on, Ron, stop that. Sonic 3. I think that Death Egg was crashing down. My point is, Eggman's endurance or his durability is fucking crazy. Eggman won't die. Eggman refused. Death has knocked on the door, and Eggman said, not interested, and slammed the door.
Well, basically, like, hold my beer.
Unless he plays Bowser.
Eggman. Okay, hold on. Give me a second. Okay, Mark, what is your thoughts?
Whether Robotnik is dead or not, it has little to do with anything that may or may not have happened in the story, and everything to do with whether Jim Carrey wants to come back or not. That's literally it. And there's no telling how that's going to work, right? Like you can sit there and see that Jim Carrey enjoyed being both Robotniks. He super enjoyed it. It felt like he was more Jim Carrey in this movie than the others by a lot. So it all depends on if Jim Carrey wants to come back or not, because that's what they did in Sonic 2. They it was like, oh yeah, Robotnik's dead, and then sure enough, he's on his Fat Thor moves. So it's like it depends on if Jim Carrey wants to come back or not. There's nothing in the story. There's not, huh?
I'm saying which reminds me. I'm sorry, you have to say this, that they didn't ever really hark on how he survived. They just showed it.
Didn't.
They never explained it. Never even hinted it.
But I mean, they're not the first movie to ever do that. There's a lot of movies where I'm like, well, why didn't we get an answer to that? I'm still trying to figure out, how did Tony just know Peter Parker was Spider-Man? Did anyone explain that? No.
He's Sherlock Holmes. It's not that hard.
Probably Batman. He probably contacted Batman.
Yeah, he probably had surveillance and more than enough surveillance.
Yeah.
Shield might have known. But Shield, by the time Civil War hit, Shield was like out of commission. But since Tony hacked Shield's everything, he probably knew via Shield. That's a possibility too. So they didn't explain it, but it is what it is. But yeah, like they left Robotnik's death open ended. Did he die? Did he not die? Who knows? We'll find out when Jim Carrey decides he wants to come back or not. Not even that, because technically they can still do like flashbacks, even if they say, yeah, Jim Carrey's here. But I don't think there's anything. There's nothing in the story that's like, oh yeah, he's dead or he's not dead. Because like you said, Ron, he has escaped death several times, like for free, effortlessly, no problem. He was in the whatchamacallit thing. Here's you got to figure, right, with the Death X scenario, right? Specifically with the Death X scenario, they're in space, so boom, whatever. Robotnik can breathe in space, cool, whatever, right? But then he's in this Death Egg robot that explodes. We don't see him get out of the Death Egg robot, but let's say he gets out of the Death Egg robot. The Death Egg is still exploding, and it is exploding, and it's falling to the earth. It's coming crashing down, and he survived that. So yeah, like
his durability is just wild.
Yeah. If he, and then here's another thing. Very easy. How did he survive? He had chaos energy in him. In Sonic 2. Was it Sonic 2? Absolutely Sonic 2. He was super Eggman up. So at any point in time, they could very easily just be like, oh, it was the chaos energy that kept him alive. Very easy.
So
super easy, barely an inconvenience. If he wants to come back, he'll come back. If he don't, we got Stone, like George said in the comments.
So with that said, gentlemen, I think we touched on a lot of things. I feel like there's a lot of things that we didn't touch on, but that's fine. But I'm going to start with you, Crazy Joe. We talked about what was your hype level going into the movie, but after watching the movie, you could rate it however you want out of 10. How are we feeling about the movie?
I give Sonic 3 a good 8. I give it an 8.
Okay.
It has improvements, but it needs, what I'm saying, but I give it an 8.
All right. Mark Wins, what do you got?
7 out of 10. I watched the movie and I was kind of disappointed. Like I said, I think there was too much Gerald Robotnik. Gerald took away from Shadow. There were moments where Shadow could have been there and he kind of sort of wasn't. I get that, they wanted to show as much as the human characters took aside, they still had they still did, Robotnik and with the if you want to say Robotnik's not human, that's a whole different discussion. But, they showed the connection with Robotnik and with Ivo and Jero, and then they also had to show like I said, the scenes that I did enjoy. I did enjoy the scenes with Maria Robotnik and Shadow, but I just feel like Gerald took up too much of Shadow's time. I got to give it a 7 out of 10. I was hoping that the movie would at least be equal to the second one, because I remember coming out that second one, I was like, I thought I saw the greatest thing ever. Like that feeling that I had after watching Sonic 2, I kind of thought is what I was going to have after watching Sonic 3, but I didn't quite get that feeling. So I got to go 7 out of 10, maybe 7.5, because it was a good movie. Like, if you are a Sonic fan and you have enjoyed Sonic 1 and Sonic 2, absolutely go see this movie. It was great, but I don't know. Like I said, I think Sonic 2 is the best one. So 7.5 out of 10.
Apathy?
Well, coming from the trenches of the first movie where it first began in its ugly Sonic days and whatnot, if we are calling that,
you are not letting that go, are you?
If we're calling the first movie playing it safe, where it's just regular plot, regular cookie cutter story, is just Sonic and Robotnik, yada yada, and a whole lot of human characters in it, because I pretty much figured they thought it was gonna be that one and done movie. It seemed like it was gonna be a one and done movie, but no. They played it safe with the first. Second one, they took risks by not only, of course, introducing and showing Tails, but also Knuckles, and going forward with that and being a better movie. I'll say, even though I think with some human characters still took way too long. The whole marriage ceremony thing, yeah, like I I can't really go full blown with that. But for this one, I would give it certainly I'll give it an 8. I'll definitely give it an 8. It had a good amount of impressive moments that I expected would happen and should happen. I think they gave Shadow. I think they gave Shadow maybe about a decent amount of time with his flashbacks and presence, fighting Sonic and becoming Super Shadow as he should and whatnot. A lot of Sonic Battle 2 references, yeah. So yeah, I give it a cool 8. Maybe some things could be a little bit better, more serious. But yeah, that's it. That's for me.
All right, gentlemen. I want to say thank you guys for joining me on talking about Sonic the Hedgehog 3, the movie. It was great. I'm gonna go with Joe, I think, kind of kicked it off with the 8, so I'm gonna go with an 8. I thought this movie was great. I felt like, God, I almost died drinking my own spit. That's terrible. I think that this movie, there was a lot of love made in this movie. I felt like I liked how you broke it down, Apathy, when you was talking about how Sonic 1 plays safe, and then it got more ambitious as the next few movies came out, and you include the actors and voice actors that's included. I didn't even get a chance to talk about what's her name, Kristen Ritter, I want to say her name, the lady who plays Jessica Jones. And she didn't have a big part in it, but I thought she played her role very well as well. I dig the movie. I can't sit here and tell you right now if I pick 3 over 2. I'm just someone who I need some time to really just think about it rather than just go like, oh, 3 is the best. But 3 was fun. I love that we got the Sonic Adventure 2 references. I love that they put in Live and Learn. I love that. And there's things too that I didn't include about like what we're going to talk. I know you want to get to that, but we don't have time for it. But I do like that. Like we got Live and Learn. I'm interested in seeing what's going to happen with these emeralds because they will end the Master Emerald and now they're shattered. So I'm interested in seeing what goes on here and what's going to go forward. So I'm going to give it an 8. I'm going to say thank you guys for watching. Please hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. Unpopular review, they're getting ready to do wrestling. I'm pretty sure they're starting to do that right now. So tune into the wrestling side of everything. There's a link to go there, but there's also the Big Pop Theory podcast. It's really an audio wrestling podcast. We're trying to get wrestling content in it. But Sonic 3 came out, and there was no way I was not going to be involved talking about Sonic 3 here on the Big Pop Theory podcast. So hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. We want to say thank you, gentlemen. This is why I asked the people I work with, is there anywhere that you guys want to be found? So Crazy Joe, we'll start with you. Because people can. You are always found somewhere. So please tell people where they can find you at, sir.
Y'all can find me on IG, Kamikaze730. So yeah, y'all can find me on there.
What about you, Apathy?
Yeah. Well, my handle on most everything is pretty much Apathetic Prodigy on Instagram. I think Facebook as well is shown on that. The most online handles. Yeah, you can find me on there. Not too active on Instagram as it is, but yeah, that's where I'm at.
What about you, Mr. Wins? What you got going on?
You can find my YouTube, Legend Number M. Still working on what exactly I want to do with it, but I'm gonna try and get it popping at some point in 2025. I'm trying to have a nice little steady stream of video game and entertainment content at some point. Yeah.
We love that, and we would love for you to get that going. You can catch me on Popular Review. I'm going to be on tomorrow for Tuesday night for NXT. I'm going to look on the card to make sure JC Jane is on there because that's what I do.
Oh yeah, and the quickest Knuckles review show, which is known as the Wade Show, 2 out of 10. So yeah.
2 is generous. Two is generous. Can I
Thank-
give it a
thank
0?
you.
Can I give it a
I gave you guys the floor, and everyone just like interrupts me. Rude, very rude. Let's bring them back in. But you can catch me on a popular review. I think they want to do the What If series, but I don't know if we're gonna have time for all that stuff. And on the Big Pop Theory podcast, where we do we talk about the week in wrestling and stuff like that. So hit the subscribe button, hit that like button. We want to thank you guys. We want to say happy holidays to everyone. Christmas is in 2 days, so we hope you guys have a fantastic holiday. Gentlemen, wave to the people watching. Guys, wave. Not with that voice, please.